So, you've tested your skill, your stamina and your luck, but the big question today, have you survived Dracula's castle? Either as the man sent to hunt down Dracula, or even the vampire lord himself. Hey there, it's Al here from the blog onemanmanyplans.com.au and of course this YouTube channel of the same name. And isn't it amazing when you go down memory lane and a few weeks later your subconscious that's been really, really busy in the background suddenly goes, hey, I've suddenly remembered this. A few weeks ago, I did a YouTube, one of my most popular so far on this channel, all about the fighting fantasy game books. The search to try and find one of the original ones from the 80s and the 90s, somewhere in a secondhand store or a garage sale. The search continues. I found one in my local library, a more revised version. But when thinking about those books, I remembered not only the Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone amazing books from that era, but also Joe Deva's Lone Wolf of the Kai series. I'm still trying to name the mystery book where you played some kind of city rebel or terrorist even, or anti-terrorist force. If you know that game book, here's a link to the previous video where I was trying to work out what that one was. Please let me know in a comment below. There's another one that suddenly sprung to mind, and I might do an episode on this later when I get some more details. Something about fighting lizard men in the marsh, and the game book system involved flipping a coin quite a few times. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're actually talking about another game book that I've suddenly remembered. Thank you very much, Subconscious. Going back to 1986 for this one, Dracula's Castle by J H Brennan, otherwise known as James Brennan, an amazing author who sadly passed away at the start of this year, January 1, 2024. And I knew, until this morning, absolutely nothing about his work apart from this one game book in the library from 1986. It turns out that he's written over 100 books. Have a look at this incredible wiki list. His good days involved writing 2,000 words. Like, he was very happy to write 2,000 words a day. He had one day where he wrote 10,000 words in a day. He was ecstatic, but that was his daily routine, writing 2,000 words. And these were fiction and non-fiction books, game books, horror books, books on magic, which he absolutely loved. He was a huge fan of Dungeons and Dragons. And not only that, but also created, in response to the Fighting Fantasy series, the Grail Quest series. He was inspired by Fighting Fantasy to go, I'll give this a go. Approached a publisher and produced the Grail Quest series, which apparently was an absolutely huge hit. We're talking selling over 6.5 million books from the 8 Grail Quest books out there over their lifespan, which is absolutely phenomenal. But hey, today we are focusing on this. Did you ever play this one, Dracula's Castle? Now, this was from my local library. It's the only place I've ever seen it. I've never seen it anywhere else. Looking for it for sale now, it's upwards of $80 to a few $100. So it's pretty rare from what it seems. But I just remember how innovative this book was at the time, because you had two ways to go. You could either play as Jonathan Harker, the young solicitor, out to nail Dracula once and for all, probably with a wooden stake straight through the heart. Or, of course, you could play Dracula himself, who wakes up and discovers that Jonathan, I think it's Jonathan, has actually remodeled his castle. And I thought that was the cooler of the two stories here, because you can play a vampire hunter, but playing the bad guy in a game book was really, really cool. And especially considering that if you did play as Dracula, from memory, you had to go through your renovated castle, annoyed at all the changes that this do-gooder had done, and basically come up with 12 tokens, one for each sign of the zodiac, to try and get to him at the very, very end of the book. So yes, you had to fight a Minotaur for Taurus, and I think you had to have, like, you met a Fishman for Pisces and those kinds of things. I think that was Dracula's Path. If it wasn't, please let me know. But I just remember that Dracula's Path, you could meet Igor, your manservant, at one stage. He could tag along, provided you didn't kill him first. You had to get the little astrological tokens, the zodiac tokens, which was pretty innovative. And now that I read up about James's love for the occult and also magic, I kind of see where that aspect came into it. I don't remember too much about playing Jonathan himself trying to slay Dracula. The other part of this game book series that I remember really, really well was the fact that you had stats and it was a 1d6 to each of them. So you could end up with a character with stats of 1 or 2 across the entire board if you were really, really unlucky, and you would really, really struggle in this book, especially if you were playing the good side of things, because of course when you get to Dracula, you find out that all of his stats are maxed out at 6 apiece. Doesn't sound like much, but when you've got 1 or 2 or 3s as your stats up against his full 6s, suddenly that end boss battle is a really, really tough one. So I absolutely love this book. I borrowed it quite a few times from my local library. Did you try it? Did you make it through? Who was your favourite? Love to know in a comment below. What I just discovered this morning as well is that, and I wish my library had this one back in the day, not only was there the Dracula Castle one, but there was also Frankenstein. And yes, it was another dual game book. You could play as Frankenstein, the creator of Frankenstein's monster, of course, or you could play as the gruesome monster himself. How good's that? A role-playing game where you could play as the gruesome monster. So there you go. Another big name to add to the list of game book authors I need to keep an eye out for when I'm shopping at the op shops and secondhand bookstores and the like. I might actually have to key this into my phone because the list just keeps growing. We've got Steve Jackson, we've got Ian Livingstone, we've got Joe Diva, and now I am adding J H Brennan to the list. The chances of me stumbling over Dracula's Castle or Frankenstein are probably pretty slim, but the good news is he's created so many works in his time, over 100 books, like I said, that finding something else by him, whether it's non-fiction or fiction, should be pretty easy. And from what I understand, and from a quick search on Google, the non-game book stuff is actually cheap in comparison, whether it's his books on magic, whether it's his books on Nostradamus. Of course, he's been translated all over the world. I only speak English and barely Indonesian, so I don't know if I'll get any non-English versions of this, but at least I know another name to look out for. So today's question, did you survive Dracula's Castle? If you at least tried it on, please let me know in a comment below. Maybe you picked it up from a bookstore fresh, ready to go, brand new back in 1986 when it came out. Or maybe you missed this one and you tried Frankenstein instead. If that's the case, please let me know in a comment below how you found it. Maybe you've tried both books. Was one better than the other? Maybe you tried them and you went, no, I'm more of a fighting fantasy fan, or nah, the Lone Wolf series, Lone Wolf of the Kai, that's for me. Whatever it is, let me know in a comment below because I'm loving this reminiscing. And I love it when people come across, like the other video that I did on Fighting Fantasy and said, I had these books, or I've still got these books, or these are on my shelves and this was my favourite and this is why. Please, I'm loving your comments. I can't wait to respond to you, so please let me know down below. If you're liking these videos, please like and subscribe because I really appreciate your support. I'm trying to grow this channel as much as possible. And if you have any idea of any bookstores or op shops, especially here in Australia, that just seem to have a dusty old box out the back full of these incredible game books where they've just gone, no one's buying these, please let me know, because I'll more than likely fuel up the Mazda 6 and go for a bit of a spin, if nothing more than just a look. But anyway, that's it for me. Time to re-explore Dracula's Castle when I find a copy. Have yourself an awesome day, and I'll chat to you soon.